Smallpox, potentially one of the most devastating biological weapons ever conceived. There has not been one documented case of this deadly disease that has occurred since October 26, 1977. By 1980, smallpox was declared eradicated, and all remaining supplies of the smallpox virus were to be stored in two laboratories, one in the United States and one in Russia. Russia was not completely trusted with their sample of the disease. In 1992, Russia worked with the smallpox in the laboratory, learning how to produce mass amounts for threat possibilities. Flu-like symptoms are included with the disease. Fever, bodily discomfort, headache, severe fatigue, severe back pain, and sometimes vomiting are included. A few days later, characteristics of a rash will appear as flat red spots called lesions. From then, lesions turn into small blisters filled with clear fluid and later with pus. They first appear on your face, then on your hands and forearms. It's usually most noticeable on the palms of your hands and soles of your feet. Lesions also develop in one's nose and mouth. As you can see, the lesions make it impossible to walk and sometimes eating. This disease is one of the most dreaded in history. British forces at Fort Pitt purposefully gave smallpox-contaminated blankets and goods to Native Americans during the French and Indian Wars. This was in an attempt to weaken the Native American resistance to colonial expansion. The disease spread very quickly. The epidemic that followed killed half of the Native American population. They were not vaccinated because they were unsure of how the Native Americans would react to the vaccination. It could have been more deadly than smallpox. In the 1500s, Indian population in North America has been estimated at approximately 12 million. But by the early 1900s, the population had been reduced to 474,000. Smallpox is thought to be at least 3,000 years old, spreading from Africa to India and China. It's impossible to determine exactly how many victims there are of smallpox. Just with the Native Americans, over 11 million were killed. In the 20th century alone, over 300 million people were killed. The possibility to wipe out a population comes very easily with smallpox without proper vaccinations. Dr. Edward Jenner observed that after an individual is in contact with the disease cowpox, the white blood cells learn how to attack smallpox because of the similarities of the diseases. For some time, inoculation was used. By using the pus and scratching it into a healthy person's arm, it will produce a mild case of smallpox. After recovering from the sickness, the individual will be immune to the disease. However, as you can see, this does not always produce the same response. Some may not recover from smallpox and some may die. Because the United States and Russia still have samples of smallpox in laboratories, there's always a concern that we could have another outbreak of the disease. Especially after September 11th, the United States worried about a biologic event occurring. Worries of terrorism come about with smallpox as well as anthrax. As I have previously mentioned, an epidemic of smallpox would be detrimental to our economy. The numbers and deaths could be millions. Dr. D.A. Henderson was asked to meet with Secretary Thompson the Sunday after 9/11. People were already worried about an epidemic occurring. Many believe that it is crucial to have enough vaccinations to distribute to the whole population. In an event of a smallpox outbreak, this would be the only way to avoid this deadly disease. To do this, it would be necessary to have funding from the World Health Organization and the United Nations. I ask for $2 million to help fund the production of the cowpox disease, the vaccine for smallpox, but only in safe environments. They have already supplied some vaccines to the U.S., but not enough to cover a whole population if there was an outbreak of smallpox.